Hello everyone from the Novedge team. Welcome to today's webinar, Diving into VR with Vectorworks 2017. Don't get caught with your goggles off. Join this webinar to gain an understanding of what hardware solutions are available to you today and how to produce VR content using Vectorworks design software. Using WebVR in Vectorworks 2017 and other tools, we will explore placing your designs within virtual reach of your most demanding clients. Our webinar presenter, Jacob Dale, is the founder at Tangably.com. Tangably is a training and consulting resource to professional designers and their production studios, seeking to maximize their use of Vectorworks. For the past 2 decades, Jacob's experience has spanned industries of entertainment design, architecture, interiors, furniture design, and the fine arts. So check him out and, check him out at tangably.com. And before we get going, here's an overview of what we do at Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We offer huge assortments of software solutions for every designer's need. So check us out too at novedge.com. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, we urge you to pay a visit to the Novedge blog and follow us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Coming up next week, using Sinai software for architecture visualization. Last but not least, today's webinar is free and is being recorded. So if you want to rewatch it, just head on over to Novedge's YouTube and Vimeo channel. And now, without further ado, I'm going to pass the screen to Jacob. Take it away, Jacob.
Well, thank you for that great intro, Barbara. It is always a pleasure to meet you and all of our friends around the world and also here in San Francisco. So thanks again for opening the stage to me and Tangably today. What we're going to talk about today is something fun. Vectorworks is moving forward into the future with new features, and one of those features is virtual reality. Now, they originally announced this at the Design Summit last year, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The feature is now available in 2017, so if you are working with Vectorworks 2017, any version, whether it be Architect, Designer, Spotlight, Landmark, this will apply to you. So upgrade to 2017 if you desire to use these features. If not, check it out, consider it, but it should be a fun topic today. So this is a little bit like playing with a toy. A lot of the drawings that we do as designers and technicians, they're very technically detailed. They're meant to inform the production of something at a very fine detail. It's meant to get everybody on board, to develop consensus, and also to form a contract. But this is the fun part where we get that consensus, we get that buy-in from our client. That's where that has traditionally been where we show them a line drawing, we show them a sketch, we even show them a rendering, maybe even a 3D model if you're at that step. Just yet, some firms aren't. That's okay. Everybody's got their own style. But what we're really going to peel back the top of today is looking into how to get your clients into that 3D world that you and your production team spend a lot of time in today. If you are using Vectorworks at its fullest capability, maybe you're halfway there, the three-dimensional aspect of drawing production today is really just is blossoming. And the ability to get your client to actually be inside that 3D world is now within grasp. So what we'll see here, basically I'm proposing sell your design concepts by immersing your clients in this 3D world. And how do you do that? This is actually a photo of me there, current photo, so I've grown a little beard there, but you'll notice I have the VR goggles on my head and some headphones, and I'm immersed in a little world that I created. This is actually a photo from this morning, so that's me. Might as well be live. But you'll see a couple of cords plugged in. Those cords aren't necessary, so I just want to make that pretty clear. What I'm looking at there is actually my cell phone in a kind of a VR headset that has a couple of lenses on it, and we'll talk a little bit more about the detail of that. And then I've got some headphones on that are wired. Both of those things could be unplugged and wireless, essentially. So let's get a little deeper in here. I didn't mean to go to that screen, so again, this is live and not recorded. So here we are. Pretty simple. I know the last webinar that we talked on Novedge, we talked about doing camera match tool, and there were about 8 simple steps to set up your model in a view. Here we have 2 steps. Pretty simple stuff with the WebVR that Vectorworks is now capable of. So one, you need your 3D content, and we'll talk about a couple different ways to get that 3D content. And number 2, you just need to export it to WebVR, and truthfully, Vectorworks really kind of takes care of all of that export and hosting in the back end. So really cool features. So here's me before the beard. I was all trimmed up for the photo shoot. So what do we do at Tangably? Barbara already mentioned there's the bullet points, but basically we show you how to optimize your workflow using your design software, and it's really what I've obsessed about for decades, and it's now my business, not just my job. So yes, Vectorworks Design Summit 2016 in Chicago. Some of you folks on the call today, I know we're there in person, so good to see y'all again. If you have the opportunity to be out in Baltimore this coming year, so maybe we'll see you there in person, and some of you folks that didn't make it last year. What's exciting about the Design Summit is we get to get our hands on the new technology. We get previews of new stuff coming out in the software. Here's I am with a old mentor of mine, Don Seidel, an architect I used to work with. What was announced at the Design Summit this past year was the WebVR, WebView VR for Vectorworks, and what we have there in our hands are essentially what are referred to as a Google Cardboard. Now, Google was the first one to come out with essentially lenses and a cardboard box that you could look into. It holds your phone and hosts 3D content, so it becomes virtual reality with a stereoscopic view. So it splits the screen that you're seeing and allows you to see those essentially 2 different screens, just slightly shifted for each one of your eyeballs, and creates the illusion that you're in a 3D environment. So there we are with some of Vectorworks giveaway VR headsets, and we'll see here a little bit more about what that looks like on the inside. So on the top we've got Google Cardboard. Came out approximately 4 or 5 years ago is when it started getting popular. You've seen a lot of similar offshoots of the essential Google Cardboard setup. These are readily accessible, and lots of promo companies giving them out. As you saw, Vectorworks had theirs branded at the Design Summit. Google has updated their design for the Google Daydream View that works with the new Pixel phones, a little bit better integration, a little bit better head tracking on that, and you get a little remote for some interaction rather than having to touch your phone screen, so that works real well with the Google phone. Again, another example of a kind of proprietary setup is the Samsung Gear VR. We see there it's working with a Samsung phone, and then you've got a headset very similar to the one that you saw me wearing in that previous photo from this morning. So what we have here is the ability to take a phone. Almost every one of you on this call, I'm sure, has a phone in your pocket, and I'm pretty sure most of your clients have one as well. And I would be willing to bet that some of your kids probably have phones in their pockets as well. And the amount of content this gives us access to is unprecedented and is only going to continue to blossom from here. The capability of putting your phone into one of these headsets and seeing 3D content is really just an exciting thing for designers. Where do we go from this level? So this is a very accessible level of, you know, having this headset, you put your phone in there. That's likely where your client is today, right? They all have a phone. They can check out the content. They don't even necessarily need the headset. They can just see like a 3D model, and we'll talk more about the web view that you can look at on your phone here in a little bit. But where is the VR going? It's already there in some situations. You may have heard of the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift. Those are two of the, let's say, better funded projects out there. And they're really phenomenal for their capabilities, and we'll show you some videos here at the end of the webinar, so stick around for that content if you'd like. What these work on is a little bit more than the headsets, and what they have is tracking, but they have the screens built in. You don't have to insert your phone in there. You have a couple of controls you can hold in your hands. Those controls are actually tracked in 3 dimensions, so as you move your hands around, you can actually see your hands in the 3D environment. And what you see, these little boxes or little positioning devices that both HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift use. And essentially what that is just determining the boundaries of the space that you'll be walking around and moving around in the VR world, and those establish essentially a fence, or a digital fence, but they also track you through infrared, so they can kind of see you moving in that environment. The computer can, so to speak. These setups require a pretty beefy computer system. For those of you that are Mac users, there's yet to be a release from Apple that will support these higher-end VR systems. We're crossing our fingers that maybe this month we'll get a new announcement, but one can hope. So those of you that have beefy PCs, you're in luck. You need a big graphics card in your computer to run these things, but it is possible. You can go buy this setup today. But here's the problem, is the cost. So the reason why we're going to be talking about WebView VR today is because it's accessible. Like I said, pretty much everybody has a smartphone in hand today, including your clients, and the headsets range from free, basically giveaways, to about $100 for the Samsung Gear VR, a little bit less than that for the Daydream View. So very accessible. And the upper end Oculus HTC, yes, just the headset would be a little less than $1,000, but once you've got all of your controllers and all your accessories and everything to really fill out the top-end VR experience, we're talking over $1,000. So a little bit of an investment on that side. It's not likely that your clients or consultants are going to have these in hand. If they do already, that's awesome. Let's talk about going a little bit further after this webinar, and we can talk about getting content onto those platforms. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on the accessible consumer level, we'll say, level of web VR. So let's dive into VR with Vectorworks. There are a couple different avenues of getting 3D content into Vectorworks, and you might be wondering why I'm showing you something that has to do with SketchUp, because this webinar is about Vectorworks. Well, those of you that are 3D users of Vectorworks, you may realize that you can import SketchUp files directly to your Vectorworks file. Now, why would you want to do that? Sometimes it's for context. So let's say, for example, you're modeling a visitor center that's going to be near the Statue of Liberty. You can see here on the 3D warehouse, someone has already gone out and modeled the Statue of Liberty. We don't need to spend countless hours over the weekend modeling things that may already exist, especially for just contextual graphics. So what I often do is go to Google 3D Warehouse. It's free. Folks upload their 3D content to there, and you might find exactly what you're looking for. So let's say, for example, you're looking for some guest seating in a classroom environment. There you go. I logged on to 3D Warehouse, and someone had already modeled that for me. So let's save time. Let's grab content that's already out there. Of course, give credit to the modelers if you do use their content, and be thankful and contribute to the community. Now, Vectorworks does have an ability to provide 3D content now with their new resource manager. Now, there's a little bit less environmental or building-sized content on that thus far, but we are looking forward to the expansion of that in the near future, hopefully. So once you have some 3D content in Vectorworks, could be modeled by you, could be downloaded from the 3D warehouse or other 3D resources on the web, this is step 2. So like I said, it's a 2-step process. You have 3D in your Vectorworks file. and then you essentially go up to your file menu, go to export, and all the way down here toward the bottom, we see this new edition in 2017, Export Web View. And one thing to notice about this is it does say 3D only. Now, some folks have already asked me about this. What does it mean by 3D only? This means that essentially any of your planar information or 2D line graphics are not going to appear in the web view. So all you will see are 3D objects. So a pretty important thing to remember there. Here's a little tip on the back end of what's actually happening with WebView. This is actually creating an HTML file. So essentially the language that your web browser reads is going to create an HTML file that will display those objects in any type of device that can show a web page. So it could be a handheld phone, it could be a tablet, it could be a laptop, one of your PCs. You could even see it on a television that has a web browser, for example. So really versatile, and we're gonna get our hands on. We're gonna dive into Vectorworks and look at kind of the ins and outs of this process here in a second. So once you've exported to the web view, you're presented with this relatively simple dialog of options. You can select the objects that you are currently seeing. You can select the objects in your current layer, or you can essentially export your whole model altogether. So there are obviously differing applications for these choices, and I'm not going to bother explaining what those are, but essentially you have different levels of complexity that you can export. Now the next thing to consider is the quality level at which you want to export this information. Now low quality is actually just going to reduce the polygons, so it simplifies your 3D content. As you saw in the image before, let's see, I'll go a step back here. This is actually, all right, I'll go ahead and show you live. But essentially your 3D polygons are reduced at this low end, and then you can put it to very high, which gives you much smoother polygons in your three-dimensional world. Two more selections to consider here is the upload to Vectorworks server. This is a really nice feature that Vectorworks went ahead and baked into 2017. Essentially what they're going to do is give you 2 weeks on their servers to host as many models as you want to upload to their server. So if you want to share a link with your client or your consultant, then you can upload it. That link will be good for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks, if those folks are still looking to view, you can always repost that information and send them a fresh link to that information. And the second option that we have here is Launch Browser. So what that will do is just open your default browser in your operating system and open the link that Vectorworks has created, basically a really long string of HTML, or not the HTML, I'm sorry, a really long string of text, which is essentially the link that points to the HTML document. And this is an important thing to have checked if you want to get that link for the web. So your browser will launch, you copy that link out of your address bar, and then you can paste that into an email, a text message, whatever it be, to your client or your consultant. So that's really the depth of it. It's pretty simple stuff. I actually like that about it, that it's not overly complicated. If you've already got 3D content, you can get it out to the world. So let's go ahead and do some of this live. I mean, that was just the crash course. If that was all you were here for, I do appreciate you joining us, but let's get some hands-on. We'll move on to the hands-on, and you'll let us know what you think about this. So what we have here, I just have a pretty simple model that I downloaded from the SketchUp 3D Warehouse. Is one of the first ones I saw when I was looking for historic architecture of the world. Now this is the Azadi Tower in Iran, pretty iconic architecture of their country, pretty fantastic design as well. And some of you folks may have actually visited this particular building in person. Some of you folks may actually be living in Iran. I know we got a couple of folks from Iran on this call today, so welcome to you. And of course, welcome to the rest of the world that's joining us. So we're going to back up a minute. I'm going to open a blank file, and we're going to look at a similar, we're going to go look at bringing in a similar type of content. But let me just go ahead and follow through, just in case you have 3D content already existing in a current file. This will be basically the shortcut to show you how to get that out to the world. So I have a model here, nothing fancy. There's just one design layer, one model on it that I've imported from SketchUp, and I can show you that here in a second. But what I want to just show you first is the export function. So again, File, Export, go here to Export Web View. Something to keep in mind when you are exporting to WebView is it is going to export your home view, or the view that opens up on your client's browser, as whatever view you currently have set. So you'll see there in the background we're looking through that archway, and we can't quite see the full extent of the structure. This is the view that your client's going to be presented with. So if you actually want to be a little bit more selective of the view, let's say maybe you're standing underneath the archway and you want more of a reveal for when they open it and you look around, this might be a better view for that. If you're looking for more of a faraway perspective that they can at least gain some context of what they're about to approach, then this might be a better view. So let's go with this one. So go ahead and export web view, and you'll see again that dialog that I had just shown you on the slide. So currently in this model there isn't a lot of content, so use your best judgment on this. If you've been working on a project for, let's say, a couple of years and there's a lot of consultants involved, you may have a lot of design layers, a lot of 3D content. You may want to dial that back a little bit. You may just select the design layer that you're looking to export content from, and so you can use the visible objects from that current layer. I know that I don't have a lot of content, so I'm going to export all visible objects in all layers. But another thing you can do is actually select a particular object. Let's say, for example, there's going to be a sculpture that is being proposed for somewhere around this tower. You could actually select that object before you go to export, and then select this option here. It says selected objects in current layer. So all it's going to do is export just that object. So you're not going to get the context, you're just going to merely get that object. Might be appropriate for some presentations. So like I said, again, we have an option to change our, let's see, we'll do updates tomorrow on my computer. Sorry about that pop-up. So quality, we can boost this to very high if we want to. Now, we have these little tips here that are common in Vectorworks. Basically, it's saying that the quality is going to affect the size of the exported file. Now, if you have a, let's say, fiber optic connection, and you're pretty sure that your client or consultant does as well, and they're likely not going to be viewing this on their phone, then by all means give them every last polygon and the highest textures you can send them. But if it's possible that your consultants are out in the field, your clients are, let's say, at the office, and they're going to probably preview this content on their phone or their handheld device, oftentimes it's best to just start with the low quality and see how well that presents your design concept. So let's go ahead and export. Let's see what that looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead and upload this to a Vectorworks server. If I uncheck this, essentially Vectorworks creates a little package, a little folder with that information, and I can I can basically place that on my server and share it in a more secure fashion with my consultants and clients. Another thing, we want to launch the browser. If you do want to preview this content before you bother exporting, this is helpful sometimes on larger files before you click export and tie up your software. So we could click on preview there. It very quickly generates this preview, and let's see, it's saying that that preview is not fully supported in Chrome. So there's a variety of other browsers that we can pick from, but so there we go. My default is Chrome, so I'm not going to bother changing that today. But you do see that that is a possibility to preview, and if you have something like IE or Safari, whatever it be set up as your default, that would be a pretty quick way to see your content. Given that this is not a large model, I'm going to go ahead and export. Now it gives me the chance to actually save to a particular location, and we're going to just create that on our desktop here to get through that quickly. And you'll see the uploading of the model takes a little bit of time. This, of course, all depends on your web connection. So right now I'm not on a fiber optic connection, but it's definitely not dial-up. And this is a relatively large-scale 3D model with, I'd say, a good deal of polygons in it. But again, the quality is being exported at low, so if you go to very high, you can see that it will likely take quite a bit longer to upload your model. So just within a couple more seconds, we'll get this content up on the web. Now I can jump over, I can cheat a little bit and go to a web view that I think I have parked here to the side. Let's see if I've got that. No, we'll just wait till it loads up. Accidentally close that browser. So I know I kind of skipped through a lot of that intro stuff thus far, especially with the SketchUp and the 3D warehouse and exporting your content, that kind of thing. So as we go, if you folks have any questions, curiosities, or comments on kind of what I've been showing you thus far, please just add it to the queue, and we'll take a moment to get those questions once we've kind of gotten through the meat of this. So while I was talking, we see here that essentially a web browser opened up. Now this is full screen. I have mine defaulted to full screen in Chrome. This is nice that the web view actually works in Chrome as opposed to the preview. The preview didn't want to play well with Chrome. But we see here, oops, I just slightly touched my mouse and we get a little bit of a fly-through action there on the web view. Now, I did share a link to this very similar model on our social feeds today, so if you have been following those feeds, check us out on Twitter, both Novedge and Tangably. You'd be able to find a link that I shared just this morning to this very file. If you want to take a look at it on your phone, you could basically just open it up on your phone right now as we're talking, or share it with your friends and family and show them kind of what's possible, and then take a stab at it yourself. Now let's look a little bit at this interface. Once again, we are in a tab in a web browser. So this is a Chrome browser. It's nothing fancy. It's basically free, as most web browsers are. And we're here in Chrome. And just using my mouse, I can scroll in and out to the model. I can pan. I'm just clicking and dragging it around that model, and we can kind of get a good sense of the of being, you know, immersed in this environment. Now we're looking at this on a flat screen. If you have the opportunity to look at it in a Google Cardboard or a little bit nicer you know, setup like the Samsung Gear VR, it's going to be a bit more immersive because you get that stereoscopic feel. Now, if you're looking at it on one of those type of devices, how would you go about interacting with that content? You'll see here that you have a couple of buttons, and then up here on the top you got a couple buttons. You click on F360 view, and it basically tells me, we're not going to let you do that because you're on a desktop right now. Please use a mobile device to access these features. So if you do have a mobile device, check out that link, or create your own content and your own link. So speaking of the link, let me just jump up there real quick. How do I get the link to share with my client? Sometimes that is the feature that's skipped over, and folks are looking around in their Vectorworks file for the link or something like that. It doesn't serve that up to you. Basically, you just find it here in the address bar of your browser. So I know I have an auto hide feature on there, but if you just hover over it, you select that information, and then I'm just going to copy that information, and we can then paste this very long text of information. We can paste that in an email or a text message to our clients or consultants to share this exact model. They'll see exactly what we're looking at. So that's how you get that link. There are a variety of URL shorteners. So yes, the link is referred to as a URL. And if you put that into something like Google's URL shortener, and there's a variety of other ones, essentially you can get one that's only about 10 characters long as compared to one that's approximately 200 characters long, whatever that be. So that's one nice tip to shorten that information a little bit, make it a little bit more digestible. In fact, if we go to something like Google's URL shortener, I'll show you a little bit of the back end. Here's one that I posted this morning. We've gotten about 12 clicks on it so far. So here's a value of posting a short URL, at least through Google's URL shortener, is that you can get a little bit of analytics on that. And if you click on that number right there, it'll give you even more analytics, just to see if the content you're posting, if folks are even really appreciating what you're putting out there into the world. So thanks to all you folks that have already clicked on it, and thank you to everybody in the future that's going to click on that particular URL as well. So what more about this interface? This is the same interface that you're going to get on the phone. It's the same interface that you're going to get on a computer. It's going to be nicely branded up here with our favorite product. And there's this 360 you would tap on if you were on a device with stereoscopic view. If you select the camera controller here on the bottom right, you have the ability to go to first-person view. So effectively you are walking around as you would inside that environment. You could look around from just this perspective rather than rotating all the way around the camera, around the 3D model. If you click on this menu button here on the right-hand side, you can actually change your view to some standard views. So, for example, we can go to a front view of this object. We can go to the top view. We might need to scroll out a little bit. Left view. None of these views were actually set up. These are just standard view angles that come from your Vectorworks file initially. So we can look at it from different angles, go back to the first-person view and actually change our standing height of the person that's viewing that. And if we click on the home button, that takes us right back to that original view that we exported our model from initially. So what we could do here now is I just want to show you a little bit more about getting that content into Vectorworks, and then we will open it up for questions for any folks that are curious about some of these particular facets. Now, this is a dialog that pops up every time you export a web view, and it's basically just telling you you've got 2 weeks on their servers, Vectorworks servers, to have this content up there. So that's great, generous Vectorworks. I feel like I probably moved this file when I cleaned up my desktop before this call. So that's essentially what that's telling you. It just can't save that file. Well, we're already done working with this one, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I'm not going to save the changes to that, and we're going to create a new file altogether. Create a blank document, that's fine. And I'm going to close my resource browser because I'm not going to need that. So blank file, we see here that it's just empty space, nothing in our design layer, nothing in our classes. How do we get content in here really quickly? Well, we could model something pretty quick. So if you're familiar with 3D in Vectorworks, I just created a square, and then I can extrude that, and we have 3D content. I could export that to WebView right now if I wanted to. Just go to File, Export, and WebView. I'm not going to do that. Not very exciting content. Let's look at something that's actually going to wow our friends and family, or even our clients, if we want to send them a little bit of a preview. What's possible with Vectorworks and virtual reality today? We probably want some content that's a little bit more exciting. So what I'm going to do is actually go to the 3D warehouse. As I had mentioned before, this is not the 3D warehouse. 3D warehouse is in another tab. We'll talk about those other things in just a moment. I am teasing you all with some future content there. So here we are, SketchUp 3D Warehouse. So how to get here? It is basically 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com. So if you are working with Vectorworks, great way to just get some 3D content, really cool. I am particularly partial to this model here. Never opened it before, but it appeals to me for some reason, and I'm going to download this model right now. Thank you, Damo, for creating this model. It looks like you've been busy creating models here on SketchUp, so shout out to you and thank you. So we're going to download, I would be tempted to download SketchUp 2017 model, but I'm going to back up a couple versions. The newest version of the SketchUp models aren't always the most compatible with our newest release of the software that we're using, and I'm not going to attempt that on a live call to save your time. Looks like it's already downloaded here, so let's go back to Vectorworks. This is our web view. Here's Vectorworks. And let's go to the Import tab. And when you go to File, Import, and it looks like I've got my notifications on, so thanks for the tweet there. So File, Import, and we're going to import SketchUp. So it's down here at the bottom. Really easy, really quick, really fun. Go to Import, Simple, and say OK. So depending on the number of polygons or how large or how complex this 3D model is, this SketchUp import could take a little bit of time. This particular model, if I go to my Downloads folder, and we'll open that up, and this model is actually not too big, not even a meg, so it shouldn't take too long to open. Looks like we're actually almost there. So just within a few moments we'll have some content up there, and we'll be able to export that to VR.
Jacob, maybe while we wait the download, I can ask you a simple question that we received.
Sure.
Did you export from a layer or viewport? Talking about the tower, the Iranian tower.
Oh, sure. Yes. So viewports, they, I guess, more commonly are applied to sheets. Yes, you can have some design layer viewports. It's not essential to set up a viewport in your model in order to export this content. And as I'm displaying now, I actually haven't set up any viewports. I haven't even set up any design layers. I just opened a blank file and have imported a 3D model. And all I'm doing is really navigating around that model in 3D in Vectorworks. So no need for viewports. Essentially, you can just set up the view that you prefer and then export at that moment. So what I'm using is the 3D orbit tool. It's right here in the basic tool palette. Click once to create your rotation center, and you can just spin around with your mouse, get down to the angle that you like. So yeah, so no viewports necessary is the best answer to that question. Cool. So I'm going to use some tool sets that are, for the walkthrough. If you've been using 3D content in Vectorworks, you're pretty familiar with this, I'm sure. But essentially, we're just going to go to the little light bulb that we have. This comes with RenderWorks, and of course, 2017. Everybody's got RenderWorks now, so that's really exciting. We're going to go to the walkthrough tool, and then I'm going to go to the look around mode, and then effectively just click and look up, and we see the Statue of Liberty up there. So I want to rotate so that we're seeing her from the front, a little bit more of an iconic view. I'm just using my rotate tools, my walk around tools to be able to set up my view here. And yeah, I can save a view here if I want to. I don't want to save this file right now, but I could save this view if I like. Here's a little tip for you folks. If you want to save that view and keep it for later, you can save that. Probably want to name it something different than front because it's a standard view, and maybe name it correctly, but we'll move on. So there we go. We saved a view, and I can go back and click on that. So if I accidentally were to navigate to something that doesn't look right, let's say like that one, I can go right back to that particular view. Isn't necessary for WebView, just showing you that you can create that shortcut if you desire. So here we are. We're set up with this kind of standard view of the Statue of Liberty, very iconic piece of architecture and symbolism around the world. So let's go ahead and click on the Export to WebView and see what this produces. So once again, File, Export, Export WebView. This is going to give us our 3D content only. And for the sake of our live broadcast, I'm going to go ahead and leave the quality here on low and export all visible objects in all layers. And we're going to go ahead and leave these checked so we get that link on our browser. So I'm going to say export, and we're going to figure out where to save that. And I'll just go ahead and save that to the desktop. This one was a lot quicker. It looks like there's going to be less polygons, maybe. Okay, I was tricked a little bit. While we're waiting for this, a little bit of trivia for you folks. So if you're ready to type at your keyboards, go ahead and send this in on the comments. The Statue of Liberty. There's actually two of them in the world. One of them is, of course, in the harbor in New York City. What is the other city in the world that actually has a Statue of Liberty? So, Barbara, shout out if anybody gets
I
that.
will, I will. I'm so curious because I'd love to take a guess, but I don't
Okay.
want to. I'm scared. No, come on. Oh, okay. Michael says
Yeah.
Friends. Is that Friends the correct answer?
Yes. Yes, good
Paris?
answer, Michael. That is correct. It's
All
actually
right.
in Paris. And if any of you folks have had the wonderful opportunity of visiting Paris and going up to the top of the Eiffel Tower, you can just about make out the Statue of Liberty from the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Why is that? Because the French were actually the ones to gift the Statue of Liberty to the United States, and they created a mock-up of the statue, which actually stands on a small island in the river that's just adjacent to the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Just a
Wow.
little bit of trivia for you.
I never
Yep.
noticed, but I'll go back and make sure she's there. Note to
That's a good
self.
idea. I think we should maybe go next week if you're available,
Absolutely.
by
Let's
the
go.
way. Okay. So we'll book the tickets after this phone call. But as you see, we don't have to travel around the world if we don't necessarily need to. We can see a lot of the content, a lot of this, a lot of these icons from right here in our comfortable offices and homes. As you see, we have our web view that popped up in our browser. If we want to share this with our friends and family and our clients, we can actually copy this link right here and email that to them. But here we are, 3D content that was grabbed from the warehouse. So if you see any really cool 3D content there, you can always grab that and make a web view of it. This will be up on the Vectorworks server for up to 2 weeks. You can share that link, and if you have a little bit of a VR setup, you can always take a look at this and actually look around. You move your head around. Even on the iPad, if you have an iPad or a similar tablet device, it is actually has the ability to do positional tracking, where if you move the iPad around in space, you can see that image move as if you were standing right there. So I'm going to pause here for a few minutes. Barbara, let me know if there's any substantial comments or questions that we've got that have come through thus far. And then I want to dive into talking about kind of what the future of VR holds.
Okay, so here we go. Is there Vectorworks VR app I need to download to open the link for a VR headset, either Gear or Google Cardboard?
Actually, the valuable thing is that there is no app required. So that was a really nice thing when Vectorworks announced virtual reality support. Is it's actually WebView VR. So WebView is actually a code snippet. To get a little bit into the code side of things, WebView is sometimes if you have an older browser or if you haven't updated it, you may have to update your browser. So if you are having any problems with your browser not loading the WebView, just make sure that it's up to date, that you got the recent service pack of, say, Google Chrome or Safari or Firefox, whatever you're using, right? Because that is a little code snippet that will actually enable you to view this WebView VR content on your computer, and also the same as your phone. If your phone is probably within the last few years, and mine's still an iPhone 5, I stole it from a museum, you can still see WebView on it. So no app required. Pretty cool.
Cool. And can you walk through your model with a controller?
So the neat thing about it is, let's see, I meant to include a snapshot, but effectively what happens is if you are looking at your content right now, if you look down, if you gaze down toward the ground, you can have a few little icons that will effectively allow you to change your walk speed, and you can increase your walk speed, you can pause your walk speed. So you do have the ability to walk, and it's more of a, rather than kind of the higher end headsets with the tracking system, this just kind of walks in the direction that you're gazing. So those little buttons are essentially, they're like live icons as you gaze down at the ground when you have that headset on. Otherwise, if you're just looking at it on your computer, you can just use your mouse to navigate around that environment.
Okay, and I think Michael is trying as we talk, and he says, oh,
Yes.
he's saying, this is what comes up when I try to, WebVR, and he says VW Web Viewer is not fully supported locally in Chrome, so I can see the import, and the images are not popping up in his browser, and then he also tries to answer himself, saying, I'm using Chrome version 56.0, and so perhaps this is the problem. Maybe it's just about updating.
Yeah, so this is actually, as kind of relatively simple as this is, a lot of this stuff is actually very new to the market, and so some of us that are a little more comfortable with our older browsers or the way things are set up, we're going to have to, I guess, rip the Band-Aid off and update and try out the new version. So yes, if you're not getting the full functionality, go ahead and update, or maybe use your friend's computer and update on their browser. So
or your children's.
There you go. Yeah, keep your security up to date.
Is there a way to have custom lighting in the VR?
Not currently. So what we've seen thus far is, let's call it WebVR Lite. There are intentions to expand these capabilities quite a bit. Vectorworks has mentioned that on the community board in some discussions. Some of our users have actually requested that there be more functionality, and the best response we've gotten is, we're working on it. So I think that they were trying to roll this out at its kind of, let's say, lowest features possible initially, just to get it working, get people's hands on it. That's kind of what this webinar is about, just to show you that it's possible. But unfortunately, no, controlling lighting, time of day, and those kind of things are still a bit limited. As you see in this image, that it's actually not just a still image, but in this 3D model, we see kind of this generic sky with some clouds and sun. This is kind of the extent of what we get right now. So there is a new design summit coming up. We're looking towards some new announcements, and of course Vectorworks is always rolling out new features in the next version of the software. So we're hoping that they improve on this quite a bit in the back end the next time we see an update on that.
So one more thing, Michael is asking again, what browser are you using? Using Chrome?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, yep, so I'm in Chrome here, and let's look at the version that I've got. So let's see, version 56 all the way down to 87. So this is what I'm using currently. So it is possible that if you're using a PC, it's different than a Mac. So I'm using the Mac right now, and that might be the problem. So try it in anything else you have, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, and at worst you might have to just download a different browser altogether to give this a shot. So sorry about that, Michael. Hope you get it ironed out. Send us an update if you get it figured out.
Okay, and now I have a little bit of a follow-up on the trivia. So William sent us the exact location of the Statue of Liberty in France. It's a monument, Pont de Grenelle, 75,000, Paris, France. So if you go on Google Earth, this is the address. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll make sure to check it out. Thank you, William.
Check it out. So I've been there in person. It's really cool. It's a little bit smaller than the actual statue. I was fortunate to be there, probably at least 15 years ago. So I need to go check out, make sure it's still in good condition. And if you are in New York City, if you get the chance to be there, I know a lot of you folks that are on the call today are there. Take the Staten Island ferry. It's the free way to see the Statue of Liberty up close, but you don't actually have to step onto the island. You just take the ferry across to Staten Island, and you get a really close approach to that. So another tip for you there. So I'm going to find my way back to, let's see, the presentation that I had set up here. and we talked about this, the WebView interface a little bit, and I just want to walk through a couple more of these features. Now, this is a feature of the meeting app that we're using right now. We unfortunately cannot get any of the audio content of this video, but I'm just going to go ahead and play this. And so I'm going to mute that, and so while this video is playing, you're actually not going to hear any of this audio. But what we're looking at here is really the cutting edge of VR right now. I've got my friend Jason there on the right-hand side. He's actually wearing an HTC Vive. And Scott, this was his first experience with VR. And he was actually pretty excited about this experience. We got him into a couple of shooting galleries. We got him into a spaceship. He was, checking out a whole bunch of different types of content. Now, that is the future of VR. I don't want to mislead you and say that Vectorworks is capable of creating this animated content or anything like that at this time, but the reality is a lot of these platforms that are building these 3D worlds do rely on the environments and the objects that go in them. So you can create 3D content with Vectorworks and export to a whole variety of 3D formats and utilize that with some of these platforms. Now I want to talk about some of the platforms that are available today. Barbara, how much time do we have so far?
No, it's all right. We're not that fiscal. 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, sure. So I want to show you a couple of different platforms that are actually hosting VR content today. One of those is first Modelo. You may have already heard of this if you are a frequent user of Vectorworks, and I'm going to try to get back to their homepage here. So what's neat about Modelo is you can install a plugin for this hosting service and directly upload your Vectorworks files, and they come on with their textures and that kind of thing. And as you see here, they're a little bit more interactive. You can do live sections. You can write notes on there. Really cool tool. I'm not going to get into the depth of this particular tool on this webinar. Maybe in the future we can get a little bit deeper into it. But as you see there at the bottom, actually I recognize some of those folks there, but some of the clients that they're actually working with currently that use this platform to host their 3D models. So scroll through here. I was hoping they might have some example models to show. So there's one of them that you can basically get a plugin for Vectorworks and upload your models directly. Another one that I really like to work with is they're called Sketchfab. You can check out a lot of their content on Twitter. And one really cool thing about this is you can actually share your content on Twitter or Facebook or several of the other social platforms you might be trying to appeal to your clients with. You can share these models directly, and we could just click on one. For example, I don't know why I clicked on just the lamps, but the first one I saw there, and we see a really beautiful preview that pulls up. And this was modeled by some folks. This particular platform, Sketchfab, if you are curious about lighting, if that's a really important thing to the display of your models, perhaps maybe if you're even a lighting designer, and there's some of you on this call today, you may want to look into this platform as well. Sketchfab, you would need to upload a 3D model to their site in order to host your content. It's not a direct link to Vectorworks just yet. I'm hoping that they work on something like that soon. But you do have the ability to, as you see here, there's like highlights and shadow and different kind of environmental elements that you can share. Now you can, speaking of sharing, you can embed this on the site, or you can share that information on a variety of social networks. So I'm going to try to step back here to the content, and let's go look at something that's a little bit more immersive. So let's say if you're going to go all kinds of things on here. So
Jacob, both Modelo
yes.
and both Modelo and Sketchfab are not just limited to Mac users, right?
That is correct. Yeah, you could upload 3D content from any type of operating system. There's a whole variety. At risk of live, let's see, choose a file. So check out, there's a whole list of supported formats, but these are their preferred ones you see. So I have an account on here. I just clicked on upload, and these are the kind of formats that it asks for. And I recognize that at least 3 of these 5 are able to be exported directly from Vectorworks, and there's a whole variety of others. And you can even upload a whole batch of materials. So just a little fair warning on this, your materials and your model are sometimes disjointed based on the format that you do upload to Sketchfab, but you do have a lot more post-production control over your model. And I'll just full screen this one so we get a little bit more sense of, you can change the lighting in here. Some of these objects can even be animated and that kind of thing. So, and then one thing to point out, Modelo and Sketchfab both have this, and this is also available through the content shared on these social networks. Is down here in the bottom right corner, you can click on the little View in VR button, and once again, if you're looking at that on a device, like a handheld device or a mobile device, that turns it into a stereoscopic view, so you have the ability to look at it in more of an immersive experience. So just a little future of what's going on there. I wanted to play a couple of these videos if we do have a moment. This was my friend Jason with Austin VR Labs. He was hosting this this kind of walkthrough with Scott. This was his first experience with VR, and he was walking through a catacomb or an old architectural historic site where he could click through on these different points. And again, he is using the HTC Vive, and this is through the Sketchfab platform. In fact, we even clicked on this model based on one of their Twitter feeds. We just clicked on a recent model that somebody had posted, and he was able to walk around. You see, as you see, he's looking up at the ceiling, and we have a monitor plugged into our hardware there to be able to show a live view of what he's seeing. So just a little enticement of what may soon be available. Of course, you can export your information up to Sketchfab or Modelo and have a very similar experience if you are set up with that type of hardware. So just a little disclaimer there. So hopefully that gets you really excited about the what is coming, what exists in VR. I really encourage all of you to at least just start playing with this, you know, with this new technology. It's really fun. I've got a little headset that I carry around with me all the time now. When somebody, let's say, for example, a client that isn't really sure if they want to dive into, let's see, the investment of creating a 3D model of their project, you hand them the goggles or you hand them the iPad and you just say, well, take a look at these couple of models that we've done in the past. It sells it immediately. You can save your breath. I know I've been talking this whole hour, and I do appreciate y'all listening to me, but the experience sells itself. So once again, this is what we do all the time. My name's Jacob. I do appreciate you spending all this time with me today. Look us up. Reach out to us if you're thinking that this might be important for you, your clients, your consultants. We'd be happy to talk about the logistics of that. And once again, always great content on Novedge if you're looking to upgrade your software, if you're looking for really cool hardware peripherals. Barbara, take it away.
Thank you, Jacob. We have one last question. What kind of goggles were you walking around with specifically?
Okay, right. So those in the video, that is the HTC Vive, and just the goggles themselves are priced around $700 approximately. And then what's also required to for a premium experience is actually these. What they refer to as lanterns, or this is like an infrared kind of projection that allows you to kind of move around in that immersive environment. So this is kind of the next level of VR. Like I said, there are ways to kind of plug Vectorworks content into this stuff, but it's really very cutting edge, a lot of back-end plugins, a lot of integration, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that we get to expand on this maybe in a future webinar, perhaps before the summer.
Cool. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to take back the screen if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt this fabulous trip that you took us to. Fantastic. And I want to thank you, Jacob. I could listen to you all day, but I have to wrap it up.
Thank you,
And
Bob.
I want to thank everybody for attending this webinar. And here we go. I want to hold on, let me go back. Here's the page I was looking for. This is the Novedge page where you can find our product and the entire Vectorworks line. And Novedge is the best way to buy design software online, so come visit us. And I want to remind you that we have another webinar. So every week we broadcast, and the next one is using Sinai software for architectural visualization. I recorded today's webinar, so please check it out again on our YouTube and Vimeo channel. Just search for Novedge. And thank you so much for the company, and thank you, Jacob. You did an incredible job, and looking forward to have you on our webinars very soon. Have a great day,
Thanks again. I look
everybody.
forward to the next session. Thank you.
Bye-bye.